Okay, have you got it written out on a bit of paper?
Sorry, just a reminder to use your microphone so we can record. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll just start with
Sorry,
okay.
I would like to just table one other thing. I haven't tabled it formally at the committee. Just for transparency, I've been appointed Deputy Chair of Audit and Risk for City of Wanneroo. Thank you.
Very well. And Justin Lee is recording the fact that he's got a financial interest as well.
Yes, 9.1 financial interests for Justin Lee.
Thank you. Disclosure of interest that may affect impartiality, nil. Attendance is myself, presiding member, Councillor Peter Wright, Councillor Denise Smythe, proxy for Councillor Warnick, Mr Justin Lee and Ms Shona Zusdorf. Staff, Ms Alina Behan, Acting CEO, Mr Lyndon Miller, Executive Manager, Infrastructure and Development Services, Rebecca Palumbo, Acting Executive Manager, Corporate and Community Services, Vanessa Green, Council and Executive Support Officer. Apologies from Councillor Warnick. And Mr Chris Linnell, the CEO, from the 10th of March 2025 to the 7th of July inclusive. Leave of absence approved as nil. Members in the gallery, nil. Questions from previous meetings, nil. And we roll on to public question time, opened at 3:12 p.m. and public question time closed at 3:12 p.m. Applications for leave of absence, nil. Presentations, anyone have a presentation? Nil. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meetings. The recommendation there that the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 11th of March 2025 be confirmed as the correct record of the meeting.
And this is Councillor Wright here. I move the motion.
So it's moved Councillor Wright. Councillor Ms Shuna Zuldorf seconds. Anyone have any questions?
I'll second Shona Zulsdorf.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Then I'll put the motion. All in favour? Carried 5-0. Announcements by the presiding member. I don't have any. The officers' report. The appointment of an independent presiding member and deputy presiding members of the Audit and Risk Committee and expressions of interest for external members.
I would like to register
Yes,
a potential
your
financial
declaration.
interest for, with regard to item appointment of independent presiding member, the matter in item 9.1, I disclose that I have a financial interest in this as a potential recipient of an approved payment. Shona Zulsdorf.
And
Do we do this first, or can you let us ask a question first about the item?
you can't participate.
Can't participate at all. Okay. I should have asked the question yesterday. And he might come in. Okay. Yes. With regard to item 9.1, appointment of presiding member and deputy presiding member, I have a financial interest.
Right. And
We'll do terms of reference. Terms of reference is separate.
Yes, it is.
don't run away though. Does anyone have any questions about why we're at where we are? Everyone's wise to the fact that we've been required to appoint an independent presiding member and an independent deputy presiding member. Everyone's happy, so someone prepared to move?
Councillor, I've got a question. When would they start? Would it be immediately or at the next meeting?
As I understand it, it'll be after the council adopt the recommendation from this committee. So at the end of June.
So the next meeting is in September, so it would not be before then. So yes, unless there's a special yes.
No further questions? Councillor Smythe? Councillor Smythe's prepared to move.
I'm prepared to move the recommendation.
And Councillor Wright seconds the motion.
That's been moved and seconded. No debate. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? That's carried 3-0. Absolute majority.
Does Councillor Wright, do we have to leave the door open because it's...
Okay. We just have no public. Item 9.2, risk management update as at June 25. The recommendation is there. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, I
Yeah.
do. Can I just confirm we're coming back to the terms of reference at the end? Right, lovely. Okay, thank you. My apologies, I hadn't opened the page yet. So I will, if you can give me a moment to call that up. So I understand that you have a new system and it's been a process around identifying risk, getting things into the risk register and getting it to mature over time. What I'm struggling with is that in the current format, I can't see where the treatments are. So, because the things that I'm looking for is where is the risk register with treatments and residual risks. So after you've done those treatments, because you've got the risk rating, I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming that's an inherent risk rating, but I'm not sure what other treatments would be required to reduce that down further.
Madam CEO.
It was my understanding that those were attached in the confidential items rather than the outward facing. So if you're looking for them, that's where they are. So I'm extremely confused and I'm just going to refer to Vanessa for 10 seconds.
Oh, no. That's okay. Sorry. But that is in the competition. Yes, okay. So that's, yeah. All right. No,
We're good. Okay. So, yes, that's not included in the reporting that you have currently. We can provide that very definitely. We are doing that. And similar to the way we were doing the audit items, that's exactly what you'd like to see, yes? Yes, okay.
Thank you. That would be very helpful because I then understand the risk rating because, and what investment or resources will be required to do it further, etc. So it just gives me a bit more context. So I would appreciate that. Thank you.
No further questions?
Sorry, one other, if I
Yes.
might. I just wonder, it seems to me, so this is, it's a strategic, no, it is the operational risk, no, what are we looking at? So operational or strategic risk register?
that is the strategic risk register.
It is, okay. It seems, I know that we had reduced the numbers. I just wondered if it might be useful to just review them again, but maybe it's how I'm looking at it. But if you go to page 5, the best example for me is under theft, fraud, misconduct. You have a residual risk rating of extreme, but you're ahead in terms of your treatments. I'm not sure what that story is that's telling, because I suspect 5 of the attachment.
Oh, okay.
I suspect we don't have an extreme risk of fraud within the organisation. It's maybe measuring something else. So what is it that it's measuring? Thank you.
Yes, if you will.
So with that particular item, cybercrime is a huge risk for any organisation, very definitely, and there's been a lot of local governments that have been targeted and failed in their controls in that space. So the risk is still actually extreme in that space. LGIS did a major audit of all local governments, and even the very large ones didn't perform well. So for our size, we are doing well. Our controls seem to be working. We don't have instances of fraud, but that doesn't mean, so there was some touching wood happening then, but it doesn't mean that the risk has gone away. So with our mitigation, our treatments, we are faring fairly well, and everything that we plan to put in place, we have. So we're ahead of our measures, but that doesn't mean the risk environment has changed. So I think that's why that's rated extreme at this point.
Thank you. So that greater detail on extreme risk, I think, is important. So I understand the point you're making, and I appreciate the transparency, but I think that means that this committee needs to be highly vigilant on those extreme risks. Thank you.
Any further questions, members of the committee? Then if someone prepared to move.
Councillor Wright moves the motion.
Councillor Wright moves. Councillor Zusdorf. Smith. Seconds. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. Item 9.3, update on findings identified during the 22, 23 and 23-24 audits. The recommendation is there. Do we have any questions that anyone wants to know about the risks associated with those audits? Yes.
Thank you. I note that many items have been dealt with, and that's really good to see, particularly given questions we've had from the community. I think it's useful to be able to show them the work that has been done. If we go to page 30, so you have a residual risk as high. What is that telling me? I'm not... Because if we have a high residual risk, then obviously that's concerning. So someone give me a bit of context for that, please, and what the risk is there.
Okay. Can the CEO provide an answer?
So just for clarification, that is the untimely preparation
Yes.
of your bank reconciliation. So when we met with the auditors recently for our entrance meeting, it was reported that the bank...
So when we met with the auditors, the OAG and our contract auditors next year for the entrance meeting, it was reported at that meeting that the bank recs were ready for their consideration. They were not. So there actually is some additional work, and we will discuss this further later. So there is still some risk associated with that. So we have now updated those to December. And although the bank corrects have been completed, there are still unreconciled items sitting behind them that need to be treated. So we have a plan, and I'll pass you on to our acting exec manager, corporate and community services, just to discuss that in a little more detail as to how we're going to make sure we're up to date by the end of the year. So effectively, we aren't where we were reporting to have been at that time. Rebecca?
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So the last, whenever that audit meeting was, I can't even think of the date, it was reported we were that they were completed. The initial interrogation of those bank reconciliations was completed up till December then, but as our acting CEO said, there was a long item of unreconciled items. And that is still the case. Where we are at now is that the initial reconciliation has been done up to April, and the team has put in place a plan of attack on how to deal with the unreconciled items. There's a whole lot of receipting and bank transfers and the like. So the current plan is by mid next week we will the bank records have been signed off until December. They've now the work's been done through to April, so the plan is by mid next week the team will have up to April ready for sign off with a comprehensive status on all the unreconciled items and what's in the process of being cleared. The plan is to post that to May. And then as the rest dribbles through in June. But there is still a fair bit of work to be done on them.
There's also a risk that exists. So they've been found for 2 years to be incomplete in our audit findings. Unless you've actually got a process in place that's working for the full financial year, it's likely to be a finding again this year, and we won't be able to have demonstrated within the financial year that we were doing it every single month, which is their requirement. So there's still a chance that that's going to be a finding. We have received some of the interim results, which we're working through at the moment, and very definitely that is still on the list. So our risk in that space hasn't gone away. When we see that they are completed every month and there's low levels of unreconciled items, that's when we believe the risk will be treated.
Like my experience, that is that on the monthly reports that go to council, that it should be actual versus budget. So if we haven't actually reconciled the accounts, then what reports have been presented to the council? Are they accurate? Well, you're saying they're not accurate at the moment, the monthly reports that you're signing off on. Is that it?
Yes.
I'm just wondering about the accuracy of the monthly, because if you really haven't done a bank reconciliation, you can't confirm that what you've actually signed off on is actually true. Yeah, sorry, I just thought you were asking me to re-clarify that. Yeah.
Okay, the CEO.
Thank you. Yes. I guess there's two ways to look at that. So yes, there could be some discrepancies. The actual figures, so for example, the 23-24 unreconciled items, there's only a $10,000 difference. So in terms of material variance, it's not sitting at high. But does that mean that there's not issues and that's not 100% exact per category of how we report? Yeah, it can't possibly be. So there's that. But the other thing too is remember that every year we have received unqualified audits that have said that our money is fairly well accurately represented in terms of what we have and where it's going. So to the dollar, no, it won't be correct. As an overall from a management accounting perspective, yeah, essentially it's right. So those are the two parts to that. But it has to be resolved. This is something we absolutely have to finish to be 100% sure of the reporting that we're sending through.
I just feel like there's a conflicting messages coming out that if I'm independent, it just doesn't seem right to me that we've got one message saying there's a concern, the next message there is no concern. So if $10,000 is $10,000, if it's yeah, I'm just saying, but it just doesn't seem that it's good.
That's right, but our variance level is set by council. So, and $10,000 is that variance level. So it's the materiality is set by council. It's sitting at about that. So, is it a concern? Yeah, of course it's a concern. But is it sitting at a level where it causes considerable financial concern to council? Not in accordance with the stated material variance level.
And if I could follow up on that. Is there a misstatement, so on the accounts, and any monthly report is a statement at a period of time prior to audit? So you only ever have audited financial statements at the end of a year, and they are the ones that are certified as true and correct. The monthly reports are not certified as true and correct. However, that's not to take away from the issue that you raised, which is why the auditors have raised it consistently and said it is a serious matter, that it is something that needs to be addressed, but I don't believe it's necessarily a misstatement.
And the signing off from the auditors every single year there's been no material misstatement. But every single year, you'll note when you look at the annual financials, there is a variance from what we've reported monthly to where we end up. And usually that's around how we've treated certain items. So there is always that adjustment. So as we do report monthly, I've never had a year where the auditors haven't picked something they'd like us to treat differently. So they're our best representation at the time. But taking your point 100%, this needs to be resolved.
Okay, Councillor Wright.
This Councillor Wrighty, is this work done internally?
It's a combination. So the work was due to be completed by December last year, and that's what we suggested to the auditors we would do. The internal team said they weren't able to complete at that time, so we pushed that back to January. In March, I could see they still weren't completed, so we actually got an external resource to assist with that, just because it is so important. And we were heading into budget knowing full well that the team would be tied up. So we've got a little bit of both is the answer. We also have our external support through Moore, who are giving us guidance on how to treat the unreconciled items. So it's a little bit of internal and a little bit of external as well.
This is Councillor. Can I have a further question? Is it the opportunity to employ an additional person to be able to cope with the load of work?
No, this is something that can easily be completed with the standard workflow. The issue is we've got a massive backlog, and it's very hard for people to, for anyone involved, whether external or internal, to understand what's happened, 2 or 3 years ago, and find the items that need to be reconciled. So we are doing the best we can on that, taking a view on the other ones, treating them in accordance with the accounting standards, and moving forward. We are also looking at some software. There are 2 sets of software that you can also apply that can make the process very simple. So to support the resourcing that we have. We actually have a very good level of resourcing in our finance team, and that has been increased quite significantly over the last few years.
Any further questions?
Thank you. I guess in a similar vein, on page 31, depreciation of assets, and I'm sure it's just a training issue on my part as your templates, etc., evolve. You have your residual risk rating at high, but the last column, I think that's telling me it's complete. So are you saying that after completion of the actions, the residual risk is still high? And why would that be for depreciation of assets?
Just check which page you're on. Is that page 29, the asset? No, but 31 for me has lack of segregation duties within purchasing, so I'm unsure what you're looking at.
This one says depreciation of assets.
Sorry. You say mine says 31.
That's okay. We'll find it.
Essentially, the next page from the previous discussion point.
Yeah, so that for me is 29. And is it, sorry.
Just to confirm, is it assets with no depreciation?
No, it says depreciation of assets. And given that that only needs to be done every 5 years,
I am just not sure what you're looking at. I'm so sorry.
Got different ones. Which one have you got? Yours is the same as mine. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
This one. All right, cool. All right, so let's swing over and have a look at this one. So yours is page 23.
23.
So would you mind just repeating your question again now that I've got the page?
Sorry, would you mind repeating that question again now that I've got the right page up?
Of course, sorry, my apologies. I was a bit slow there. It applies to a couple of items, actually. So if you look at the residual risk column, so the original risk was extreme, residual risk, so the inherent, residual risk is high, and then the last column, which I believe is complete, says it's 100% complete. And I'm not sure why we'd have a residual risk rating that's high if the actions are completed.
I can see what you mean. I'll pass that on to the Acting Exec Manager, Corporate and Community Services, to respond.
Now I have to recall that one. Sorry, are we in the... Yeah, is it 23, 24 or...
Page 23.
Yeah, no, I've got that in front. I just can't... 22, 23. Look, that is obviously before my time there. My understanding is it has been dealt with in 22, 23, and it was not found to be an audit finding in 23, 24. It could well be that we haven't updated the risk rating there. But I probably need to look into that further because I just don't know off the top of my head. Sorry.
It may actually just be that snapshot in time. So
At the end of 2023, 22-23, that's where it was cut off. But we will check on that because I can see what your concern is there.
So given that I think these things have been of interest to the community, it's really important that we have a clear paper trail at this committee around how we've dealt with it. So for those ones that are complete, I would really like to see that final summary report that says of all those findings, we have actioned them, we've taken them off, they're no longer a finding, and if you want to put a residual risk rating, but so that we can provide that for anyone who asks, I think would be useful. Because it does look like you've actually completed most of them, but if you look down the residual risk column, they're still all saying high. So, yeah, that summary report would be useful, I think.
Okay. So that's been noted. And we move back to the recommendation. Anyone wish to ask questions further? No questions? Then someone to move. Shona?
And I can second.
Justin, second. Are we all in favour then? Thank you. Last is a business of an urgent nature introduced by the decision of council is nil. And the motion now, the officer's recommendation is that the committee agrees to accept and consider the late report. Review of the terms of reference now. This is one you wish to depart the scene for.
No, sorry. No, I wanted to split it so that I could participate in this discussion, if I could, please.
Okay, so we need to move and second the item. Move, Councillor. Oh, have you got a question?
No, I'm happy to move
Move.
recommendation.
Seconder? Councillor Wright.
Councillor Wright, second summation.
Very well. So we have accept and going to... Yes, we need to vote. All those in favour that we take on this item of late correspondence? Okay, that's carried. Now, the terms of reference, 12.1. Now, do we have any questions? Yes.
Please, thank you. So I understand that you're updating that to reflect the changes in regulations. One of the things I wanted to ask that you consider is, with the external members being presiding members, which, you know, is a bit tricky, I wonder if it would be useful to include a section in there around selection, because typically your committee chair would be on your selection panel, which if they're a candidate, they can't. So, and also most councils do it differently. Some have a rep from administration and one from council, or none, or whatever. But I think it would be useful to consider, given that we are here to represent the interests of councillors. I think maybe that could be reflected in the recruitment process. But the other one, which I feel keenly, is somewhere I think it would be really good to have something around the appropriate communications between the chair as an external member with councillors and with administration. I would really like that process. I don't mind what it is, but I think it needs to be codified somewhere. How you would like that done, and how we report up to council if we are not members of council and we don't attend. So.
Very well. We have several questions there. I don't have an answer.
So that noted, the question would be for everyone is just to whether you feel it can proceed without that, or if that can come in a second iteration.
It's obviously going to impact on all local governments. So I would imagine back to the Honourable Minister, or, well, whatever Walga thought would still need to be adopted by the Minister's team. So, there are questions that need to be asked.
So the terms of reference are ours, though, to adjust.
Yeah. Very well.
Councillor Roddy, would it be...
Another question?
Another question. Would it be time to, if we can't do this for June, could we put it back to July so we can have all the answers?
CEO?
Yes, we can. We'll just need to run a special Audit and Risk Committee meeting for it to be considered up through here, because our next one would be September.
I'm very comfortable with doing it in a two-stage process. I don't think it's urgent. I just think it's something that would be useful to be proactive and have something in there on both of those at some time. So I'm happy to deal with what we have today, and then at a later date we can revise it.
So we could definitely present to September. The interesting part would be around the selection of new members and the timing of that. So if we did feel that needed to be brought forward before then that would be fine. But we are looking at early September, so I think that would pan out well.
And because I've just done some reading, but I'm just a bit confused because I feel like we're working backwards, that we're making a recommendation, the Audit and Risk Committee itself is making a recommendation about its terms, whereas looking up the fact sheet, it seems to indicate it should be the other way around, that actually the council actually appoints the Audit and Risk Committee. It's a committee of council still, and the actual terms of reference should actually be debated at council, and then we just have to follow them here. That's the way it reads to me, like all the other terms of reference to do with committees, and it seems to be re-emphasising that in the new fact sheet. That's just the way it reads to me, so I'm maybe not as comfortable with this item because of the fact that it seems to be reverse. But I don't know if you've had any determination from Department of Local Government and whatever cultural industries now regarding that yet.
Okay, that's your question.
So no, I haven't seen a determination on that particularly. We do present ours to committees just because they have the best knowledge of how it needs to run. Just the questions that have been raised already, council probably wouldn't have that oversight or understanding to be able to add to that. It is still council's terms of reference. They are still making the decision, and they may still make other adjustments beyond this committee as well. So it is only a recommendation. It's not a decision here.
Any further questions on the item? Then we'll deal with what we have with us and then raise those questions at a later date the next time around. So, a mover? Councillor, or rather, Shona? A second? Councillor Wright?
Councillor Wright seconds.
Okay, I'll put the vote. All in favour then? Okay, that's carried. Those against? Okay, so it's carried 4-1. And I'll close the meeting at 3:47 p.m.